Alright, hi everybody. I am back with Monored aggro with Throne of Eldraine. What happened? Basically, Chain Whirler rotated out. Some cards stayed, some cards are gone. Lightning Strike is gone as well, for example, but there's some new cards from Throne of Eldraine. So let's take a look at this Monored aggro deck that I'm going to play in Phantom Legends tonight. Basically, the new cards are Fervent Champion. Good one drop. It has haste and works well with other knights. Rimrock Knight is the other one. It lets you pump your creatures. Sometimes you attack into, cards like Gilded Goose, cards like Leafkin Druid, cards like Arboreal Grazer, and it lets your creatures kill those for free. So it basically punishes your opponent for making obvious blocks sometimes. Plus, it's a fine creature sometimes to play on turn 2 if you're trying to pressure your opponent. Scorch Spitter, that was already in M20. That's nothing new. Robber of the Rich is pretty good. Sometimes it gives you card advantage. You're pretty good at emptying your hand faster than your opponent. So the clause where you need to have less cards than your opponent is not really that hard to meet. The last new two cards are Slaying Fire, which is really important. It's good at killing Questing Beast. 3 mana, 4 damage at instant speed, pretty good. And Torbran, Thane of Redfell, that's the card that makes this deck work. Don't play less than 4. Currently, there's so many Golos deck on ladder. Basically, 50% of every tournament I see right now is Golos decks. All you want to do is Goldfish. You want to be as aggressive as possible. And basically, they don't really interact with you. Sometimes they play Wrath on turn 4 or 5. But other than that, you get to build your board, attack for a lot of damage. Torbran makes everything deal +2. So the interesting things about this deck is I'm playing Footline Fiend, which is not exactly the most powerful card. It is a 1-drop that works well with Torbran. And basically the idea of this deck is you just really want to start with a 1-drop every game. I mulligan most of my hands without a 1-drop. Basically always if I'm on the draw. Sometimes when I'm on the play, I keep something with not a 1-drop where I know I have certain good cards for the matchup, but it's not wrong to just mulligan a hand without a 1-drop. This deck is very aggressive. It mulligans well. It doesn't matter if you multiply, if you curve out 1, 2, 3. So don't be afraid to mulligan. This deck mulligans fairly well. So what else is new in this deck? There's one Skewer the Critics. It's not the greatest card. It's basically not very good. You could play 4 Slaying Fire, but I kind of just wanted to have one more cheaper card in my deck. So I'm playing a little split of 3 and 1. And then there are 2 Planeswalkers. There's Tybalt, creates 2 Devils. Stops your opponent from gaining life, which is important against cards like Hydroid Craces, against the life gain lands, Deafening Clarion, stuff like that. And the Devils work really well with Torbran because they are both dealing 3 damage when they attack, and when they die, it basically creates a Lightning Bolt. Chandra also works well with Torbran because it creates 2/1/1 haste creatures that are both dealing 3 damage with Torbran. So that works pretty well together as well. Oh yeah, and Castle is the last new addition. If you have a lot of creatures, basically a better mountain with the downside that if you draw 2 castles in your opening hand, they're gonna come into play tapped. But that only happens in like 3% of the game, 3% of the games, which is a fine price to pay for having a useful mountain that sometimes make it really hard for your opponent to block or just deals the last couple points of damage. What else is new here? Nothing really. Basically, like Scorch Spitter when it attacks, it deals 3 when you have Torbran, like stuff like that. You're gonna be able to figure that out. Sideboard. Lava Coil comes in against green decks, comes in against stuff like Questing Beast and red-green decks with like Gruul Spellbreaker and stuff like that. Chandra and Tybalt both come in against Golos decks where they have Wrath of Gods, they have cards like Deafening Clarion. So you want to build your board with Planeswalkers so that after they Wrath, you still have something in play. Especially Chandra works really well. Like when you go 1-drop, 2-drop, then you play Chandra, make 2 tokens, attack. You're still pressuring your opponent pretty badly, and then they really need to play Wrath next turn. And then you just untap, play Torbran, make 2 creatures with Chandra, and you're attacking for 6 out of an empty board. So kind of like that about the Planeswalkers, that it lets you play around sweepers that way. Chandra's Pyro Helix is against all the green adventure decks with Innkeeper and like all the 1/1s and like full Full Mire Knight, whatever that is, the black 1/1 adventure guy, and then Experimental Frenzy. Obviously, it's still great. Somebody wants to play the value game with you if they want to bring in a bunch of Legion's Ends and removal spells, and they want to like grind out, you know, through your creatures, just bring in for Frenzy, and that always beats all the other mid-range decks. One thing I'm not playing that other people are is I don't have Bone Crusher Giant. I think this card's great. There's also the Giant Wrath that a lot of Golos decks play right now. This guy survives it, but I think the way to beat Golos, if you want to be faster than them, you need to get under them. You need to be as aggressive as possible, as fast as possible. This just doesn't fit into that. I don't want to pay 2 mana for Shock, and I just want my cards to be cheaper. I just want to curve out 1, 2, 3, and just, you know, get under everybody. This deck beats Golos. I've been farming Golos decks on ladder. I got to number 3 with this deck like 2 days ago. That was as high as I got. Whoever is guarding the first 2 spots is doing a very good job. Wasn't able to get higher than 3. Even with 2 wins on number 3, I still wasn't able to get any higher. So whoever is in the first 2 spots is doing a great job. Yeah, that's basically it. Monored. Green decks are not a good matchup. Questing Beast and Lovestruck Beast mostly. That card just that card is a nightmare to play against. There's no real good card that deals 5 damage. Lovestruck Beast. 3 mana 5/5 blocker basically. Like against those decks, you need to bring in Frenzy. Sometimes you on the draw, you just on the play you just curve out and hope that you have a good Thorbrand draw. But yeah, this deck has very polarized matchups. You are good against Golos, you're good against like slow decks, you're good against control, and you're good against certain decks that are trying to beat Golos, like for example the Mono Blue Mill deck. But against the green decks with Lovestruck Beast, those are not good matchups. So don't be surprised when, you know, you're gonna lose some matches because this deck has some really bad matchups. But on the other hand, if you're trying to beat Golos, this is a good deck to do it with. Thanks for watching, and if you want to buy some cards or whatever, channelfireball.com, you're gonna find a sideboard guide there, an article about this whole deck, sideboard guide, everything, channelfireball.com. Thanks for watching.